Okay, so the Indian team has broken the hoodoo that lasted for 2 decades, that of not being able to beat New Zealand in an ICC tournament. That's been broken. India now undisputed number 1 on the points table of the Cricket World Cup, and dare I say, looking all set to be lifting their third 50-over World Cup crown. I know there are still a few games to go, but the way the Indian team is looking right now, you'd have to be a brave man to bet against them lifting this particular title, looking head and shoulders above the rest of the teams. Now, what we're going to do in this particular segment, as I always do, take a look at the 5 big talking points from that India versus New Zealand game. And the first one we're going to talk about is Indian bowling. Mohammad Shami playing his first game of the World Cup, and what a day he had, picking up a fifer. Do you know that he's the only Indian bowler to pick up 2 fifers in a World Cup? So he's done it twice now already. And what really stands out with that performance is not just Shami alone, but overall India's bowling performance in this World Cup. If you take a closer look at this particular stat, which tells you that every time India has been in a bit of a trouble, they've had their bowlers that have saved them. So it's not that teams haven't had a good start versus India, they have. But when they've been in good positions, Indian bowlers have picked up wickets in the middle order and clawed their way back into the game. Look at versus Australia, 110 for 2, 199 all out. Afghanistan were 184 for 3, 20 overs could just get in 50 overs could get 272 for 8. Pakistan, if you remember, 155 for 2, 191 all out. Bangladesh, 93 for no loss, 256 for 8 is what they managed. And New Zealand, in this particular game, same trend continued. They were 243 for 4 in the 44th over, last 6 overs remaining. 300 looked to be on the cards easily, but they were 273 all out. That's where Shami also picked up a fifer. So the Indian bowlers, the comeback that they've been making in the tournament is one of the major reasons why they are on the top of the table. Point number 2 in our top 5 points is the Man of the Match award. It's gone to Mohammad Shami for his fifer. Many people would agree with it. But if you ask me, my Man of the Match would have been Virat Kohli. Now, it's seldom that I pick a batter to be a Man of the Match. Quite often I've argued that no, you need to give Man of the Match awards to bowlers because you're very unfair on them. You usually pick up a batter, but this is that one exception where I'm actually favoring a batter for the Man of the Match, and I'll tell you why. Mohammad Shami, outstanding fifer, is a rare thing, and just as I made a point in my first particular point in this discussion where I said it's because of Shami's fifer that New Zealand could have gone to 300, but they were restricted to 273. But why am I picking Virat Kohli? Now, Virat gets you 95, but try and reverse the situation. Let's say if Shami did not pick up that fifer, what would have happened? New Zealand would have got 300, 310 at best. The form that Virat was in, the situation he took his team to, he would have chased down 300 as well. That's the kind of batting that he did today. He got out for 95 only because the match was done by then and he was chasing his 100. Virat would have won you had there been no fifer for Shami, just based on the evidence of what we saw today. Now reverse that situation. If Shami got that fifer, 273, but Virat did not get that 95. You know that India were in a precarious position. They had a good start, but then when they lost Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, remember they were playing a batter less. It's only because you had someone like a Virat Kohli that you knew that you could chase that total down. So assuming 273, Shami gets that fifer, 273 you're chasing, but Virat does not have the innings that he had today. Let's say if he was to be out early on for 18-20 runs, would India have won the match? I doubt it. That's why I think the more crucial role today was played by Virat and not so much Mohammad Shami. That's why I would have picked Virat for my Man of the Match. But outstanding performance from the two of them. Point number 3 is Rohit Sharma and the starts that he's getting. Sometimes we take a look at the larger picture and we only look at the 90s, the 100s and so on and so forth. But please, let's not in any way undermine the 46 that Rohit Sharma gave you today. Interestingly, he's leading the charts in terms of 4s and 6s of this World Cup. 33 4s, most by any batter in this World Cup. 17 sixes, most by any batter in this World Cup. Today as well, out of his 46 runs, 40 came via boundaries. So it tells you the kind of mood that he is in, and he actually laid the foundation. everyone said in the mid innings when India were chasing 273 that the first 10 overs is going to be crucial. We know that New Zealand fast bowlers can really pick quick wickets. Had they done it, had India lost 3 wickets in the first 10 overs, it would have been very tough to claw your way back from there. But Rohit Sharma set the template, was attacking just as he hit Shaheen Shah Afridi for a first ball 4 versus Pakistan. He did exactly that to Trent Bolt. So these are 2 bowlers, 2 left armers that have troubled him. And what has he done? He hasn't got bogged down. He's smashed them for a boundary. So that actually showcases Rohit Sharma's intent. And what he does sets the tone for the rest of the innings. And that's the kind of form that Rohit has been. And he did exactly that versus New Zealand today. Point number 4, and that is very unusual. Fog stopped play for a good 10-15 minutes. In fact, at that time, many fans were scared. It was about 15.4 overs that had been bowled and the required quota of 20 hadn't been bowled. People began to get worried. What if the fog does not clear? What if the game was not to start? What are you going to do? Will Duckworth-Lewis then come into play just as it comes in place for rain? Well, the good thing is the fog did not last too long. It vanished from there and then the game could resume without any overs being lost. But that also begs the question as to should you have night games this time of the year where the winters are beginning to set in the hills? Maybe not a great idea. Luckily, there's only one game remaining in Dharamshala. And that game, I think, is between Australia and South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, or Australia and New Zealand. It could be one game remaining, but luckily that's a day game, and that's the more prudent thing, the smarter thing to do. Have day games if you're going to have it in the hills, especially this time of the year. Summers is another matter. So maybe in the future, when you're going to have games here in Dharamshala, not this time of the year. Do it during the daytime if you want to have any games here. Though I must point out, this is not the most bizarre reason why a game of cricket has been stopped. I've read through various articles that point out once there was a game stopped in South Africa, first class cricket, because the ball had fallen into a pan of the spectators who was cooking a nice fish or some sort of seafood for himself. So it took about 10-15 minutes to dry the ball and then the game to resume. But even when it was resumed, Roger Taylor Marcus was one of the bowlers who played for South Africa. He complained of the ball being too greasy because of the oil that had been left behind. So you've had various other bizarre reasons. There was a county game in England that was stopped once. Muthaiya Muralidharan was playing that game because one of the tents of the viewing gallery caught fire because food was being cooked, and then some cook ignored it and went out, and then the tent actually caught fire because of the food being cooked. In our own domestic cricket, in Ranji Trophy, a game has been stopped because someone actually drove his car in the middle of the match, in the middle of the pitch, and he said, Google Maps actually brought me here, so I don't know where I was going. So game was stopped. So you've had plenty of bizarre reasons why games have been stopped, and fog is clearly not on the top of the list. Finally, to our point number 5, and that is pertaining to the New Zealand team. They were top of the table before this game. Now they are number 2. Most people would think that India and New Zealand are the 2 best teams. But what if I was to tell you that it's not very easy to right now guarantee New Zealand a semi-final spot? You'd find that surprising, considering we are talking about India and New Zealand as the 2 favorites. And I say that why? Because India will well and truly go through. They've already got 5 wins. 1 more win, 6 wins. You are safe. You should make it to the top 4. For New Zealand to be safe, they've got 4 wins. They've got now the remaining games that are going to be coming up. They've played 5 games. They've got 4 games coming up. And for them to be safe for 6 wins, they need to win 2. But listen to this. They have 1 week game against a weaker opposition, that is Sri Lanka. Assuming they win that, they still would need to win 1 more game to be absolutely safe of making it to the top 4. But listen to this. Those 3 games that they have to play, 1 is against Australia, which have always had the wood over New Zealand. 1 is against Pakistan, another team that's always had the wood over New Zealand. And 1 is against South Africa. So out of their 4 remaining games, 3 are going to be tough games, 50-50 sort of games. In fact, some games maybe the opposition starts slightly as the favorites. So is it very easy? Is it just a done deal that New Zealand qualify for the semi-final? Not quite, because they have a very tough run-in towards the end of the tournament. If you ask me personally, I think they'll make it because they should beat Sri Lanka, and to be safe, out of the games that they are playing in Pakistan, South Africa and Australia, they should be able to win one game. Maybe they might go on to win 2 games, because at the moment New Zealand is looking like a very balanced team, a strong team. In fact, they almost gave a scare to India in this particular encounter. No other team has run India so close as New Zealand did in this encounter. So that's all. Those are the top 5 talking points from India versus New Zealand. If you like this content, do give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today for more such videos like this.